How's it going, guys? Aaron from PhoneDog.com here, and if you're on Verizon, yeah, you got a lot of 4G LTE choices to choose from, but a lot of them are kind of pricey. You know, $299.99, $300, that's a lot to spend on a phone. Well, if you're looking for one that's just a little bit cheaper, maybe say $199.99, they've still got some options for you, and I've got two of those in my hands right now. One of those is the Motorola DROID 4, and this is the latest iteration of the DROID lineup, the original lineup at that. And it's got a 1.2 gigahertz dual-core processor, an 8-megapixel camera, and it's got that awesome physical QWERTY keyboard as well. Then you have the LG Spectrum over here. This thing has a true HD display, a 1.5 gigahertz dual-core processor, and an 8-megapixel camera as well. They're both $199.99 at Verizon corporate stores and online at VerizonWireless.com. Which one's the best? We're going to find out in a head-to-head battle we like to call a dogfight. But first, some love to Best Buy Mobile because they hook us up with phones just like this for use in our giveaway games. When you go into Best Buy Mobile, you'll walk out working. They'll help you set up your email, your contacts, your web. When you walk out that door, all your settings will be set up thanks to Best Buy Mobile. Let's take a look at these. DROID 4, Spectrum, which one's the best? We'll find out in the dogfight, which starts right now. So yeah, you know, Verizon's got some awesome 4G LTE handsets, but a lot of them are $299.99, and if you don't want to spend $300 on your phone, I mean, you know, it's $300. That's quite a bit of money that you can put towards a car payment, a mortgage payment, an iPad, whatever it is you want, but it's still quite a bit of money. Well, they've got a couple of other devices that are still 4G, still considered high-end devices, and they're available for $199.99 instead of $299.99, and those two are right here, or at least two of those devices are right in front of me, the Motorola DROID 4 and the LG Spectrum. Now, interestingly enough, the big complaint here for international users has been that none of the 4G devices are eligible, you know, to get or to roam, you know, to go overseas because of the SIM card slot being taken up by the LTE SIM card. Well, fortunately, these are two devices that Verizon they have slated for LTE and global roaming capabilities as well. Not rolled out just yet. Supposed to roll out later in the year, at least according to the press release. So, you know, if you get this device and let's say in September you're going overseas to Spain or to Italy, wherever, you'll have the capability to do so, hopefully, by September, you know, or at least towards the end of the year, according to Verizon. So let's go through some specs here. Motorola DROID 4, this thing is available right now for $199.99. It's packing a 1.2 gigahertz dual-core TI OMAP processor. It's got an 8-megapixel camera with a flash. It's got a front-facing camera, Android 2.3. It's got a 4-inch QHD display that has PenTile technology, and it's running Motorola's custom user interface. Now, some changes from the original line of DROID devices. This still is a follow-up to the iconic DROID, you know, the one that launched in 2009 and revolutionized everything as we know it with the Android push, because let's be honest, Verizon's marketing push did a great deal for the Android platform at the time and continues to do a great deal for the Android platform. The big difference here, non-removable battery. It's packing a 1,785 milliamp hour battery, and the cover itself comes off, but you can't remove the battery itself. There's no option for an extended battery. If, you know, 1,785 is not going to cut it for you, which we'll talk more about battery in part 2, but if that doesn't cut it for you, you're going to be out of luck with the battery life. But, you know, design-wise, fits in line with the Motorola DROID Razr Max, the DROID Razr, the DROID X2, kind of this typical Motorola design scheme here. And one complaint that I've seen, and you know, I would actually give this as maybe a minor complaint, there's a lot of space around the actual screen. You know, for the earpiece, I mean, you can see a lot of kind of plastic up here, unused area, and down here as well with the Verizon logo and the capacitive button. So this is slated to get ice cream sandwich, as is this, but according to a press release Verizon put out today. They didn't give a time frame as to when it was going to come out, but just to give you a run through of how it looks here, HDMI port, micro USB charging port on the bottom, you've got your capacitive buttons like I said, your 3.5 millimeter headphone jack with your power button up top, and then you've got your volume rocker over there on that side. Now you also have a 5-row QWERTY keyboard, and they've kind of revised the keyboard theme here, and it's interesting because if you use the original DROID, the DROID 2, the DROID 3, which DROID 3 actually was a global roaming capable device. And now this one, you know, we all have our preferences as to which keyboard's the best out of the DROID lineup. This one's pretty decent, and we'll tell you more about that in just a second, but 5-row QWERTY keyboard for those that text or email on a regular basis. Now you have the LG Spectrum over here, also an LTE handset. Also has an 8-megapixel camera, but it has a 1.5 gigahertz dual-core Snapdragon processor, and it has a 4.5-inch IPS True HD display. So at least on the spec front, the display is much improved here. This is a 720p HD display, and it's an IPS display, so it's absolutely beautiful. It looks nice, and colors are really vivid, as opposed to this, which is still a decent display, but it's 4 inches, so a little bit smaller, and because of the PenTile technology, you do see a little bit of graininess when you're holding it up really close to the camera, or when you're using it for something like, you know, picture features side by side with this and the Droid 4, you're going to notice a difference, and you're going to notice that IPS display as opposed to the PenTile display. Volume rocker over on the left side, and you can see it's a relatively thin device as well over here, and then you've got volume rocker on that side. Nothing over here. Up top, you've got your 3.5mm headphone jack with your power button, and then you got your USB area as well. Little cover. Remove that, and you've got your micro USB charging port underneath. Your capacitive buttons down here at the bottom, although interestingly enough, you have 3 capacitive buttons, and this one looks like a physical button, but it's not. It's just plastic underneath, or a silver plastic underneath the actual glass of the display. So you can see menu, you got back, and then you have home as well. And I believe menu doubles up as search. When you press and hold, it sure does, and you've got that capability as well. To give you some rundown of the kind of the technical specs here, 4.99 ounces over here, 6.31 ounces on the Droid 4, mostly due to the keyboard. That I will say, even with a physical QWERTY keyboard, it's still a relatively thin device when you hold these up side by side. But you can see the size difference between the two and the added screen real estate. It is a removable 1,830 milliamp hour battery you get in this bad boy. So running Android as well, but these are a little bit different because even though they're running the same version of Android, Android 2.3, also known as Gingerbread by its dessert treat name, you can see it looks very different because LG's custom skin is running on theirs, Motorola's custom skin is running on theirs. So you can see even just when clicking apps, for example, these scroll from side to side, LG scrolls from up to down, or from top to bottom rather, and you can see it looks different. So you get a different user experience. It's kind of interesting when you look at something that really should be exactly the same because it's running the same software build, and you see how different they are. But out of the box, typical Verizon stuff on both of these devices. We'll start with the Droid 4, and you can see Vcast apps, Amazon Kindle, Blockbuster over here, Google Books, also known now as Google Play. They've changed the market name as of today. It's no longer known as the Android market. It's now referred to as Google Play. So you're going to see it roll out in the next couple of days, and it's going to be referred to as Google Play Books, Google Play Music, and more. So instead of saying Google Music or Google Books, it's Google Play Books, Google Play Music. Not really sure how you play books, but somewhere in Google's marketing strategy, they thought that was a good idea. So, we'll see how it plays out. But down here you have guided tours, IM, Let's Golf 2, Madden NFL 12, and it's important to note, this is a cool feature of Motorola's platform. You can actually press and hold an application and get more info, and if it is eligible to be uninstalled, you can just click uninstall right there. But what I do like, you can uninstall the games. What I don't like, you can't uninstall any of the Verizon stuff. So if you don't want My Verizon Mobile, you don't want Netflix, let's say, actually before I say that, yeah, if you don't want Netflix, you don't want, and this thing just does not take well to scrolling from side to side while it's down on a desk. You don't want VZ Navigator, for example. All the Verizon stuff is unable to be removed outside of those 2 games. So if you don't want those, you're kind of out of luck. Over here, same thing, Netflix, ESPN Score Center, Smart Movie HD, Hot Pursuit, Let's Golf 2, Amazon Kindle, BitBot, Blockbuster, My Verizon Mobile, and they're all kind of situated in this Verizon folder here, which I can click and close those individual folders as I see fit. So that's a nice little customization option. What I will say about LG's user interface, it's not as fleshed out as Motorola's, as HTC's, or as Samsung's on the market. It's still a relatively new user interface, and it looks much better with some of the devices that were announced at Mobile World Congress, like the LG Optimus 4X HD. It's a total revision that runs on Ice Cream Sandwich, and it looks so much better than this. So hopefully, when this thing gets Ice Cream Sandwich later in the year, it'll also get the revised version of LG's user interface. But you can see very colorful, kind of iPhone looking here, although it separates everything out by folders, HD, communication, Verizon Wireless, media, etc. And same thing over here. You can sort out by all apps, recent, downloaded, or Verizon Wireless, or you can create a new group. So if you create a group that says like Aaron's apps that he uses all the time, put in messaging, put in phone, put in calendar, I can access those directly as well. But media, news, and search, and then I can go down to the very bottom and see downloads. Now you get some editing options here. We can manage those applications. We can change the layout to a list if we want to. We can manage the apps, move those around to different categories, and then I can also edit the categories as well, or manage the categories as well. Now, I've talked about this in the review, but it just brought it to my attention as I was scrolling through and doing that. I noticed a little bit of a lag. Despite having a pretty zippy 1.5 gigahertz dual-core processor, I noticed a little bit of a stutter, quite a bit of a stutter or a lag over on this device, and the screen is absolutely beautiful. This is what it makes it really frustrating to buy an Android device, because on any of these devices, you get some awesome choice, and choice is great, but you're going to find one that has a beautiful screen, but lags a little bit too much. You're going to find one that's not laggy, but you don't care for the screen, or you're going to find one that has a great camera, but you don't like the way the front-facing camera operates. I mean, it's good to have choice, but it's hard to find that perfect device in any case, be it Windows Phone or Android or iOS. But you can see here, typical dock down here, 7 home screens, but you can just see as we go through the review, make sure you look at this one as I'm operating it. You're going to see some lag and some stutter from time to time in comparison to Motorola's platform, or in comparison to TouchWiz 4 or Sense 3.5, anything like that. So you can see 5 home screens over here, and it has kind of a carousel format here. You can see it kind of zips in and out, very much like a carousel with a nice transition effect. Over here, 7 home screens, and you get a lot of kind of, I don't want to say gaudy is not the right word, but you get a lot of big LG icons and different different widgets over here. And we can go into widgets and take a look and compare both. And you can see how the applications look a little bit different. Or the user interfaces look a little bit different. You can see here, typical Android looks separated by widgets, shortcuts, folders, and wallpapers. You see that down here as well, but it's just in a different format. I can automatically add, let's say, digital clock, for example, and I can keep doing things, add shortcuts, bring that out here. Let's do direct dial, for example. And let's see, I don't know why it's not, it just does not like to be placed on the ground. So we're going to select a shortcut. We'll do direct dial. We'll do Billy Bob, for example. And you can see it's still in that edit mode down here. So wallpapers, folders, shortcuts, and widgets. I can change the wallpaper. We'll change it over to this, just for example. And then when I'm done, I can either hit home or I can hit back, and it takes me back out to the main area. Here, widgets, and I can go in and see my widgets, and of course it just plops them right out on the home screen, and then I can move them around and do my thing once it's actually out on the home screen. But you get Motorola widgets and Android widgets on here. You get some LG custom widgets over here as well, and I'll show you again. Things like digital clock, finance, friends, in touch, home screen tips, news, things like that. My Verizon data, obviously not an Android widget. And then you see the stock stuff, Play Store, which is the new name for Google's Android market, rather. I don't know why it took me so long to think about that. The Play Store is what they're calling it now. And actually, let's see if the icon's updated as well. It should update. Let's see what we've got here. Let's go down through here and see if we can find it. Play Store, where is it? Where is it? Play Store. I'm so used to seeing the Android market icon that I'm probably browsing right now. It says market here still, so we'll see what happens. Okay, upgrading to Google Play. Let's see. So you can see Google Play and how it looks. We'll talk about that more in just a bit. But let's take a look at messaging on both of these devices and see. And I thought this was particularly interesting. Save now. How would you like to receive up to 15% off your gas and electric bills? Let me tell you, the Quick Brown Fox is always up for saving a buck. The Quick Brown Fox says absolutely. The Quick Brown Fox says absolutely. And so there that is. And you can see 5-row QWERTY keyboard here. Very nice keys. To me, I worked with the Droid 3 for quite a bit of time. I actually carried the Droid 3 as my personal device for about 2 months and really loved the keyboard on it. You still get the same amenities here. You get a D-pad, you get your number row up top, a dedicated number row with symbols, commonly used stuff down here, and it's organized like a typical QWERTY layout. Now that said, this probably comes in a close second to me to the Droid 3. It's definitely a good keyboard. It's one of the better physical options I've used in recent memory, but still doesn't hold a candle to the Droid 3. But if you're somebody that texts or emails on a regular basis, you're going to want this physical QWERTY keyboard, because while you do get some nice stuff out of the box, you get the Motorola keypad, and then you get swipe as well, which Motorola's multi-touch keyboard, as I've said before, one of my favorites, and very easy to type on and make mistakes on. As you can see, I'm doing, and of course, portrait to landscape transitions are nice and easy as well. It's still a 4-inch display, so somebody with larger thumbs is going to have a hard time typing on this, as opposed to maybe a 4.5-inch display or 5-inch display or whatever, 4.7-inch display. So you got a physical keyboard here to make it through the day with your emails and your text messages. Now over here, you get kind of a similar interface, and you can see this little demo number I've been testing, Big Apples. And I have this keyboard that I downloaded, the Ice Cream Sandwich keyboard, which I happen to really enjoy. And this does not come out of the box. What you do get out of the box is LG's keyboard and swipe. So you get this one, which is not doing a good job of auto-correcting, but still, portrait to landscape transitions are nice, and because of that big 4.5-inch display, it's easy to type on. Now, I will say it's absolutely beautiful here, IPS display, and the camera's not doing it justice, but when comparing these side by side, you can really see the display difference. I mean, gorgeous, clear, beautiful colors over here, as opposed to over here. Still looks nice, and no, not a huge letdown, but still, in comparison to this one, pretty impressive over on the Spectrum, and of course on the AT&T side, the Nitro HD, which is basically the same device, but is running AT&T's LT as opposed to Verizon's, and there's swipe as well. So good keyboard options on both. Physical keyboard for those that text and email a lot, I'm going to give that to the Droid 4. In terms of on-screen stuff, because of the bigger display, it obviously goes to the LG Spectrum.